This is the second video I'm making on writing test 2, and here I'll be looking at how to properly find and answer the question. I hope you find it useful.
Part 1. Reading the question and fulfilling the task. Some people might just start writing straight away and don't properly read the question. Let's see what happens when you do this and you don't properly answer the question. The bad descriptors mention this in the task response category. For a 5, you can address the task, but it might only be partially addressed. For a 6, your answer will address all parts of the task, though some may be more fully covered than others. And for a 7, your answer addresses all parts of the task. So it's important to find the question. So let's look at the following example of a task 2 question. And then here are 2 sample answers. They're not necessarily good. What's wrong with them? Well, the problem with both these responses is basically the same. The candidate saw some keywords from the question and they just started writing without actually making sure what the task requires. Now, IELTS essay questions often have background facts or opinions. So in our example, the part about city centers being very crowded with cars and often causing a great deal of pollution. These 2 sentences are what we call background facts. But that's not actually the task. Now, other prompts might contain other elements. There can be background facts, there can be opinion, and then there's of course, the task, the focus. There can be a mix. You can have up to all 3 of these. But the background facts and the opinions are optional. But of course, there will always be at least one task. So let's look at an example. This example about advances in technology contains all 3 elements. There are background facts, there's an opinion, and there's also a task. So let's do some exercises. Have a look at these 3 prompts. See if you can identify which of them contain facts, opinions, and tasks. Of course, some of them might contain only facts and a task, or possibly multiple tasks. Some of them might only contain opinions and a task. It varies. Now let's see how you can get to the gist of the question. Sometimes the tasks are a little bit overwritten. Maybe the whole prompt might be a little bit long. So you should definitely find the keywords in the question. Some books suggest that you don't use the keywords from the question, but instead paraphrase them. I think it's important to actually use the keywords to keep your writing on track and make sure that you don't go off topic. But if you copied on everything from the prompt, there are 2 problems. Your writing might be unclear, you might be going off topic, and also you might be wasting your time, because a very long introduction that copies too much from the prompt is not going to be considered part of your answer. So let's look at an exercise. In the following statements, what should we write about? So let's look at some prompts and what they're actually asking us. In the first example, the prompt reads, "There are many problems on Earth needing attention, and there should be fewer missions in space." What they're actually asking you is, do you agree or disagree that there should be fewer missions into space, since there are many problems on Earth needing attention. In our second example, the prompt reads, crime rates are growing in many major cities, so capital punishment is necessary. What this question is actually asking is, do you agree or disagree that capital punishment is necessary since crime rates are growing in many major cities? Then the third example, the economy of a country should take priority and the environment should be regarded in second place. Now, this prompt actually writes the same opinion twice. The first time from the perspective of the economy, and the second time from the perspective of the environment. Well, basically it's saying the same thing twice. A country's economy is more important than the environment. Do you agree or disagree? Unfortunately, sometimes the prompts are written using negatives. For example, doctors should not withhold information. If there's a negative in the prompt, it's even more important to properly shorten or distill the question to make sure that you're properly answering the question. Because if you use double negatives, it makes your writing a little bit confusing. For example, by writing, I disagree, the doctor should not give information to patients, you might end up confusing your reader, the examiner, or you might even end up confusing yourself while you're writing. So it's much clearer to change that into, for example, I believe the doctor should freely give all information to patients. And even better, I believe the doctor should not withhold information, but freely give it to patients. Okay, now at this point, I just want to repeat the structure of the prompt. The IELTS prompt will have at least one of the following. At the very minimum, it will have number 3, the task. But there could also be background facts. Now, you might not consider these statements to be facts, but in the IELTS world, it's better if you consider them to be true. So don't argue the points mentioned in the background facts. But of course, there could also be opinion included. Now, because it's an opinion, it's possible to either agree or disagree with it. So you can plan your response accordingly. And then, of course, there will also be a task. There might also be multiple tasks. So just keep this in mind when you start thinking about what you're going to write. But before starting your brainstorming session for ideas, you should first think about what kinds of essay types there are, because this can help you to actually plan your answer better. Okay, so here we're looking at 5 different questions, 5 different prompts. A. The best way to reduce the number of traffic accidents is to make all young drivers complete a safe driving education course before being licensed to drive. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the statement? B. The threat of nuclear weapons undermines world peace, but nuclear power provides cheap and clean energy. Do the benefits of nuclear technology outweigh the disadvantages? C. A large number of deaths are caused by road accidents. Why do so many road accidents occur? Make recommendations that would help to reduce their number. D. Modern life is very stressful. People have to manage their time and other resources very carefully. How can they have less stress when they're so busy? And finally, E. Work is taking a more important role in people's lives. Why are people working so much? Do you think this trend is good or bad? So, can you identify the similarities and differences between these 5 prompts we just looked at? The fact is that the first 2 are argument tasks. They require us to argue a point or take a position. What's your opinion? A is a statement with which you must either agree or disagree, or you can take a middle position, what I later call balanced view. Whereas question B, task B, is a direct yes-no question. Do you think some topic is good or bad? Do you agree or disagree? Task 3 and 4 are discussion type essays. They require you to discuss the topic rather than take a position. You can see words like why and how, and things like make recommendations or give suggestions. And then the last one, task E, is a combination or a mixed type question where there is both discussion and argument. The question word why asks you to give a reason for a trend, that is, discuss it. And the yes-no question words ask for your opinion, that is, that you need to argue the point. So in total, there can actually be 5 kinds of task 2 questions or tasks in the prompt. The first one is, to what extent do you agree and or disagree? The second one is discuss both views, give your opinion. The third one is, what are the advantages and or disadvantages? So discuss. The fourth one is, what are the causes, and give solutions. Also a discussion question. And then number 5 is a multiple or 2-part or mixed question where you are asked to discuss an issue and then also give an opinion or argue one side. So before you start planning your response, it's definitely important to know exactly what kind of question you're dealing with. Okay, so let's wrap up this video with a summary of the steps that you need to follow to answer the question. Underlining the keywords in the question is a good idea to help you stay on track. Identify the topic. Focus on the details in the questions and any restrictions that there are. And actually, to finish with, I'm going to talk about the restrictions that are sometimes included in the prompt. Identify the task, and then rephrase, simplify, distill the question to make sure that you actually answer it. So let's talk about topic restrictions. You need to decide if the topic has been narrowed down or restricted to a more specific group of people, places, or circumstances. Let's look at an example. The keywords here are underlined. Government investment in the arts, such as music and theater, is a waste of money. Governments must invest this money in public services instead. To what extent do you agree or disagree with the statement? So notice that the topic is government spending. But it's not just government spending on anything. Our topic has been restricted to the arts and public services, which means you should not be writing about things such as military spending, for example. Focus on public services. Let's look at another example. The percentage of overweight children in Western society has increased by almost 20% in the last 10 years. Discuss the causes and effects of this disturbing trend. In this case, the topic is obesity, but it's restricted to children in Western countries. That means that you should focus specifically on this and not children in other countries or other problems in Western countries. So that's the end of the video. I hope you find it useful.